how do you say like with the statement money is the root of all evil? That's like an incomplete statement because it doesn't say that's what all money can do. It just says that's one thing money can do.
Mm-hmm. You're 100% right. That's a good. I never thought about that, but yeah, you're 100% right. It's not a complete statement in regards to money. Because money is one of the most popular topic in the Bible. Outside of salvation.
Yeah. I lay on the scale, you gotta glow, you gotta glow. She had my attention, she gotta know.
I'd like to welcome everyone to another episode of the Let's Get podcast. I'm your host Zeke, and in this episode, I'm my friend Dami to speak about financial freedom and religion. You can find out more about his brand, Wealth in Christ, by clicking the link in the description below. I hope you have a nice day and enjoy the show.
Thank you for having me, Zeke.
No problem, anytime. So, the first question I'd like to ask is, what would your origin story be, and how would you like to represent it?
So my name is Dami. For those who may not know, I am a 23-year-old entrepreneur, investor. I'm also a Christian. I'm also the host of Wealth in Christ podcast, basically a podcast that's here to inspire the masses, especially Christians, that it's possible to be financially free without compromising their faith. So that's basically my little short summary about myself and autobiography about myself.
And for your story, how would you like to represent your story? Would you like to write a book, make a TV series?
Um, I do see myself um writing a book. I do have some ideas in writing a book, but I do want to learn more about myself, get more, I guess, experience and, yeah, experience, just the word, experience under my belt. So if I do write a book, people can say, okay, this guy has been through some stuff, as a 23-year-old, not 20, not 23-year-old, like books at this age. So it's like, I don't want to rush the process. And also I just want to wait for the right timing.
Got it. Yeah, still trying to figure out. You still feel like your story has time to be written. I see that.
Yes.
Nice. So let's get into this. So you're also Wealth in Christ podcast. This hasn't been like a very big financial literacy push for people of color. How do you feel about that?
Um, you repeat that one more time for me? So sorry about that.
That's okay. So it's pretty much talk about that, like a big push for financial literacy for people of color. I want to get your
Okay.
thoughts on that.
So yeah, that is a very major issue. The disparity between the, I guess, other race, or other group of people. When you look at minorities, the dollar does not last long in in a minority community. I think if I'm not mistaken, it literally leaves the black community like in 7 hours. Like that's how quick the dollar goes. So you can think of it like, when people go and order Chinese food, that dollar's already gone. When it goes to the corner store, that dollar's already gone. If you shop at Walgreens, Walmart, the dollar's pretty gone. And I feel like that's one issue. I feel like the bigger issue is the lack of understanding of how to manage money. What is money? How can you use money? There's a couple of people who do make it out the um or the neighborhood, but like doing in terms of coming back and trying to educate people. Some people, don't think they should come back because when it was grinding, people didn't support them. And also people who are also in the community, from their perspective, is like this person is not Hollywood. They don't understand, like they forget where they come from. But it's like, when you get to, from what I understand, when you get to a certain level of wealth, when you start building things, there's certain things you don't want to associate yourself with at times, and people need to understand that either you, like, I guess from a wealthy person's person, is like the people who wants to help has to change their mindset and level up to that mindset. Because I can't teach you, like I tell the same thing to anybody, I can't teach you how to build, to invest in stocks. I can tell you how to do all of that, but it's more about the mindset. If your mind says like, "Oh my God, if I put money into this, then it goes down one day. I'm taking my money out." That's not the process. And when you think of wealthy people, they usually play the long term game. Basically, they put into the stock, and over a 10, 15-year period, that's how they accumulate, such wealth. Just to even go into more detail, 90% of 90% of millionaires, one thing they have in common is that they own real estate, and that's something that's lacking in the minority group or black color people, people of color. We don't own properties. We properties don't get passed down. And I did a workshop recently, and at a church, and the pastor asked me like, "What's the reason why people, when they buy properties, they lose it? But minorities, for whatever reason, we fall victim into it." And what I can say is that there's a recent article that came out by MSBC, and you can, based from the article, a lot of people they borrow more than what they can afford. You can see that in the minority community. We try to be so big. I gotta have the flyest shirt. I gotta have the flyest sneakers. And don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with having a flyest sneakers. But what you want to do is you want to have an access that pays for that liability. So if you have a property, a house, let's say your total bills for the month, is like $1,000, but you collect $2,000 in rent. The $1,000 pay for the mortgage, for the insurance, and the remaining $1,000 you can save it, you can go blow it out. I mean, in my case, I would save at least $500 in case of emergency. Um, Another 500, you can do whatever you want. So it's all about the mindset. And that then, like, people need to understand is a mindset, and it's not a quick thing. Building wealth is not a quick thing. That's something I realize, especially with the youth in the community. Everybody wants quick money. Everybody wants to. I want to get it quickly. Like, they don't want to understand like the patient. Um, like this one story I tell all the time. So there's one of our friend, a good friend, one of our friend acquaintances I know. He basically asked me some advice about stocks. And now I'm more skeptical about giving advice in terms of like what exactly I'm investing, because I understand that, like I started off this, is that people need to have the mindset. And majority of people don't have the mindset of how money is and how money grows. So, but, when I first started this whole process, I did game, I did my research, buy Apple, buy Tesla. Um, like it was basically sometime last year before Thanksgiving, something around that time. And I reached back out to him like in January, just to check in, like, okay, how's the stock? Did you add more? Did you buy more? And just for the guy to tell me that it was not moving fast enough. That's one thing. I'm like, bro, Apple is a $2 trillion company. Where do you see it going? Like, a lot of us use Apple phones. Apple's not going anywhere. Like, it's not going anywhere. And Tesla's not going anywhere anytime soon. Like, they literally building a whole new industry in terms of electrical cars. And he's just like, yeah, it was not giving me money as quick as possible. And like, yeah, it's a long term play. You know, you probably like the guy, if I'm not mistaken, the guy was probably up at least 30 or 40% on his already investment. So how much more do you want? And that's also something I can see going back to the story I was talking about, where the passive coach is great and not having a plan. Okay, if I buy this property, I'm gonna hold it for 5 years, 10 years. It's gonna fund one part of my bills. Or they can take the money out, do a cash refinance, go and buy another property. So it's all about the mindset. That's I just what I want to end on. It's all about the mindset that people need to have, and I feel like that's lacking in the minority group.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I feel like for us, for our people, we always have a survival mindset. It's always like if we made it day by day, if we survive the day, we accomplish everything. So it's kind of hard to switch it to a long term plan when you sometimes don't believe you're going to make it to that far. You want to just see what you can do right now. Like Kanye said, you were supposed to make it past 25. And then if you don't think you go back at 25, how are you going to try to do something that's going to take you a long time to build?
Yeah, you're right. And I guess one thing I can say to that, I definitely understand that, the survival instinct. But I definitely, I guess I can say, you know, is how can I say? You gotta change your environment. Let me just say it like that. You gotta change the environment because you only kill a mindset. Gotta get this a survival mindset, like you said. 9 out of 10 times, you will be someone that's just all about the quick money. Trying to get the quick bag, not then then, and that's a lot of people because of their mindset, not because they're bad personality or we don't get along, but at least for this time period, me growing and grinding, I just can't have certain mindset. Like people like to say they can change people. I try not to try to deal with that. Try to see if I can change somebody or force somebody to change their belief because of my conviction. So it's important to change your environment. And when you change your environment, you start to see things different. You start to see, yes, I can make 100K a year. And by the way, only 9% of people make 100K a year overall. So there's a big wealth gap between the poor and
Yeah, definitely. I remember I wanted to do stocks when I was younger, but like not having anybody around to like kind of guide me through that was kind of like a big hurdle. But now with all of this and everybody pretty much sharing what they know, it's like an easier thing for me to do now. Once I get
yeah,
started.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. It's very important to have mentors. That has helped me, just to add on to it, it has really helped me personally, whether it was in school. Um, People always try to make, always trying to clown me, saying, "Oh, you always do somebody your mentor does this, mentor does that." But yeah, my mentor does all these things, so I don't have to do it. I meant to went through the struggle, understand, like, when I'm talking about school, I meant to understand, like, what it's like not to pass a class. So know how. So if he's telling me what not to do, I can avoid it. And I can skip the hurdle. Like, that's how I see it. That's how I see my mentors. That's why I'm 100%. That's something I emphasize on my podcast, something I emphasize on my TikTok, Instagram. Get mentors. Because me personally, between me and you, Z, I'm a lazy person. Me trying to do hard thing. I mean, I'm lazy. I'm saying I'm lazy, but I'm hardworking, as you can see. But I'm lazy. I don't like to go through do things the hard way. If there's an easy way, it's not. It's easy because you don't learn from his mistake. I'm gonna do that, and I feel like that's some people. That's what things they people need to do. They make an investment in themselves. $500, $400, whatever it may cost. That could be the difference when you changing your whole generation. So I love my three mentors I had, one for education, one for stocks, one for real estate. Like they really help change their mindset in terms of how to view money. Like something I can say, especially in the minority group, the minority is that, or never say minority, but just people who are not wealthy. I mean, just not people who are not wealthy, is that we hold money so tightly. Like we forget that money is basically paper. And when you look at what percent of money is made. I forgot the percentage, but I think it's like 70 or whatever. It's just cotton. So when you think about it, it's like when you think about it more and more detail, we literally picking cotton. Like we literally fighting over cotton. And when you think of the whole idea of slavery, the whole point was to stop picking cotton and stop trying to work for this kind of cotton. But in reality, most of us are still doing the same thing. Like we're working for this kind because that's the only thing we see. We see money, and oh my gosh, money's everything. But money, like I like to explain, money is just a tool to buy back your time, to give your family a life that they deserve.
Definitely, definitely. Jose, he went through that so you don't have to go through that. So like you gotta have people, everybody has a mentor, even like your parents. Even if your mentor is not positive influence, it's telling you what not to do. So you at least
You're
don't do
right.
that.
You're 100% right.
But yeah, definitely. and with everything. So yeah, I'm trying to think about like with everything, everybody's trying to become more financial literate. How do you think? How do you think things would change? Do you think things would change in terms of the status quo?
That's a great question, and that's definitely a great question. And I feel like, to be honest, I'm being honest with myself and just looking at history and just looking at human beings that so you know you can't change a human being into detail. If you're supposed to take away the idea of billionaires and make it everybody on the same playing field, there's a 90% chance, or even more than that, that the same people that are wealthy now will be the same people that will be wealthy then. The reason why, because it's like it goes back to discipline. A lot of people don't have discipline. And when you think of lottery winners, a lot of people win lotteries and they go broke. A lot of people, go to pro, they become artists. All these people that they have this nice album and they make big money, and after a certain time they go broke, and it's because of lack of discipline. Like discipline is really a big thing, and you can think of discipline every way. Discipline to know, okay, maybe I should not take that deal. Discipline, maybe I should not talk to that person in that certain way. Discipline in terms of I'm not gonna spend this kind of money at this point. Discipline in regards to able to say no. A lot of people don't like to say no. Like no is a full answer. So I don't think it's really make a difference because you look at the top 5 or 7 billionaires. They all have literally grew there, have gotten richer. And you can see there's. I mean, it's great. I would say it's great that people have the awareness. But something I like to say, and there's no point in having the knowledge if you're not going to apply it. A lot of people have the knowledge about stocks. A lot of people have the knowledge about crypto. A lot of people have the knowledge about real estate. But when you come down to it, it's only 5%. 5% of people who actually put in the work. 5% of people who actually go to the seminar. 5% of people who are reading books. This year I've probably read about 10 books so far. Um, and I listened to about 6 or 7 podcasts because I understand the point of getting the knowledge and I try to apply it, when I speak to my mentors and things like that stuff. But most people won't do that. It's like, oh, it's too much to waste my time. I'm not getting paid for this. But how you can't get mad, 4 or 5 years from now, where I'm driving a nice car, living the life that I want to live. You can't get mad, and I feel like people don't realize that in order to get to a certain level of success that we all desire, there has to be some type of sacrifice that you have to make, whether it's time, whether it's money. Like you have to. Life is all about give and take. That's something my pops always tells about time. Like life is about give and take. You can't just want to think you can get. You got to give and take. And I say that with a caution, because like I don't know if you saw the last one of the TikTok quotes I made. A lot of times people get caught up so much in the grind that they forget to live. And I don't want that to be anybody who listens to this podcast. That's is great. I'm encouraging you guys to stay in your grind and get disciplined. But at the same time, take time to live. Something I do personally is every Friday, like I try to call it like a little more chill day. I go and walk around, relax, spend time with my mom, my brothers, try to speak to them as much as possible. And that day I treat myself to ice cream every Friday. I treat myself to ice cream. So some people are like, oh my God, that's nothing. But and when you do that, when you're treating yourself with a little thing, once you start getting this $1 million, 100K, the discipline, okay, I'm still gonna treat myself. And that's what wealthy people they do. They treat themselves, even though, it seems like all they do is work, work, work. But there has to be a time when your body just relax. You treat yourself, whether it's some massage, get your nails done. If you can't afford like all these, like I guess, luxury things, go on trips, you can literally go to the park, go for a walk, meditate, um, have a little picnic in the park. Because your mind after a certain time, constantly being in a move of just trying to be creative, you do get burnt out. And the work that you were trying to reach, you would never reach it because you're basically it's like a dead car. Like a battery that's not working. You're trying to drive it. You need to charge the battery. So that's literally my thing about that. I don't think it's really gonna change the spectrum of the rich and poor to give it a short answer. But I just think it creates the awareness because it still goes back to mindset. 95% of people, you know, are not gonna take that risk. You know, don't get me wrong. Um, Certain investment is not for everybody. I want to say that. Everybody needs to understand their type of risk management. Some people they can understand that. I mean, even though it's the same thing, the same process, the same ideas and theology. Maybe stocks maybe too confusing for somebody, but real estate may happen to work better for somebody, or having a business may happen to work for somebody. But you just gotta find what way, or even I don't know, go entrepreneur, even a Roth IRA. That's something you can do without having to worry. Because on average, if you're talking about SP 500, you invest into an ETF such as SPY, which did about 15% last year and in the pandemic. On average, it gives you 6 to 8%. So you put $100 down. At the end of the year, you can expect $6 to $8 on every $100 you put in. So it's all about you want to make sure your money is working. It's not all about just trying to be an entrepreneur. I know a lot of people are on social media and Instagram trying to condemn a 9 to 5, but I mean, you can be a 9 to 5 and become a millionaire. Most like a statistic I threw out there, only 9% of people make 100K. So there's somebody lying on social media about what they're making and how they get their money. So knowing that is like, okay, you don't need to necessarily make this 100K. It's all about how you manage, that 70K, that 90K. Because once you know how to manage and you get a certain percentage on your money every month, every year, 20, 30 years, compound interest, you can literally be a millionaire. So that's how I view that. I don't think it's gonna change, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I see that. You can teach people something, but if they don't know how to use the tool, then it's going to be full of deaf ears.
Yes, sir.
And then with the new housing crisis, if like that happen, that's another way that wealth is really going to change. Because
Yeah, you're definitely right. You're 100% right in that regards. Because the house market is on all time high. If you I don't know if you know, like thinking about a week ago, lumber is at an all time high, and people are literally buying houses without doing inspections. That's basic like knowledge of education, like to make sure the foundation is good, the plumbing is good, because those things cost money that people try to skip. Like I'm not trying to pay 20, 30K because of some silly mistake that only costs $400 to get an inspection, depending on what state you are in. $400, at most $600 to get an inspection. Make sure this house is, and people that they are borrowing at an all-time high, more than I'm not saying that there has to be a balance. That's the thing. There has to be a balance, and you can see in this pandemic, there's not a balance. The government put a lot of money into the economy, making people think that they're the top dog. People think they're all of that now in a bag of chips. But when things start to roll back, it's gonna get very scary. I pray that no one will have to lose their house, but that's gonna be reality for some people where they will have to lose their house. The car might have to get repossessed. And all these different things. So many people so-called rely, especially minorities, that we rely on so much. Being a cashier, um, like these jobs, are going to now be replaced by robots. And when you think about it, all these jobs with train driver, bus drivers, are they all being replaced by by robots because it's more cheaper, that means there's a chance of higher unemployment. There's a chance of more people having to, want to get unemployment checks on a daily basis, rely on the government to try to feed them. So I'm encouraging those who are listening to this podcast, if you have a skill or you want to do something, start it. You know, the worst thing that can happen is you fail, you gotta do it again. Like that's the worst thing that can happen. You fail and you gotta do it again. And that's really life. Like sometime in life, instead of just releasing this post, you gotta understand the season you are in. Sometime in life, you're gonna be getting a bunch of blessings left and right. Yo, thank Jesus, thank God. And sometimes you're like, God, I understand. I understand. Like you're gonna ask a bunch of why am I going through this? And that's just the time where you need to one draw closer to Christ, and two understand the reason why you're in there. Because I strongly believe like once you understand a lesson that is trying to God's trying to put you, it's trying to have you learn. Once that season passed, it's like give me the ball, I'm about to slam dunk. That's what makes and just to go like talk about a reference. That's what makes LeBron James a great player. He may have a bad season, may not win a championship, but next season he's still a threat because he already reviewed all the plays. He already understand what play is doing what. So hey, there's a chance you might see him in the finals. And that's what the same thing we need to do. Like we need to take the same disciplines and analyze where we need to grow at. So when things do change in our favor, hopefully we can really ball out. So that's really something I want people to take away from this podcast.
Definitely. Everything's an ebb and flow, and sometimes you're in your highs, and sometimes you're in your lows. Like that could go back to the real estate and investing. When you're in your lows, you gotta stick it through.
Yes, sir.
Cool. So let's talk about your podcast, Wealth in Christ. You talked about earlier how you wanted to make sure people, even in the faith, understand they can still make money and still be surviving. So what kind of made you come with that idea?
So Wealth in Christ, like I said, I'm the host, and basically is a podcast, a platform, media company that is here to inspire the masses that it's possible to be, financially free without compromising your faith. A lot of times is either, especially in the Christian community or just in general, people always try to associate if you're a Christian, you're like you're poor. If you're wealthy or financially free, you're like, oh my God, you're so far away from God. Like you can't talk to you and that kind of thing. Like so and I like people like to quote the scripture, the love of money is the root of all evil. That's 100% true. I 100% agree with that. But at the same time, money is a tool that can change your generation. Money is a tool that you can use to bless the church. Money is a tool that you can use to feed the homeless. Money is a tool that you can bless a child who doesn't have parents get through school. Money is a tool you can buy back your own time. You don't gotta do certain things. Money is a tool where if you haven't come in, whether it's passively or actively, you can do other things. So that's the way I like to think. And even in the Bible, it talks about, a good man leaves inheritance for his children. So it's not so much about oh hate money. No. That's not God does not hate money because a lot of things in the Bible, it requires money to build temples in those days. It requires money. And even just to have a church flowing, it requires money. All these so that's how I want to first address that. And with the reason that quote was put in there, the love of money is the root of all evil. When you think about it, people do a lot of crazy things when it comes to money. You know, we all have a price. Like people like to say, we all have a price where we will probably go against our morals. And it takes a strong discipline and strong discipline in God to not do that. That's why people are willing to scam people for a certain amount of money. That's why you can pay somebody to assassinate such and such people. So the Bible, God understand that those are things that like money is such a strong influence that it can control people. It's basically warned us against it. Because you even read that same chapter, in the I think it's First Timothy 6:10, we talk about the love of money. If I'm not mistaken. We've seen the same chapter below, like 17, First Timothy 6, 17, 8, like 16 to 19. It talks about, if you're wealthy, you should give to the poor. You should be generous with what you're giving. Not put your trust in money. So it's basically giving the blueprint. It's basically giving a blueprint on how to manage your wealth. And what led me to create this is that I see a lot of youth, especially around my age, a little bit older, that they kind of left the church, and they go into these different industries, you know, and they completely like them being a Christian, or being associated with the community is like almost foreign. Like you can't even say like they're a Christian and things of that sort. I'm just like, no, I don't think God would give you a talent that you can't use for Him. Whether it's music, whether it's writing, whether it's podcasting that we're doing, um, or being a great speaker, you can use all of that, and God can still give you the glory for that. So that's the reason why I started a podcast, and I'm hoping, as I continue to do it, as me also, doing all these different investments I'm doing, people will see, Christ in my life and understand that I'm not compromising my faith to do any of these things. Like I still have my morals, from the Bible in terms of believing in the Ten of God, believing in Trinity, the three, and the Holy Spirit, God the Father and God the Son. Like I believe in all of that, but I'm not compromising my faith just to get money. And that leads us to understand that people need to understand that not all money is good money. If that makes sense. Not all money is good money, and that's pretty much why I start. Because you don't, yeah, those Christians who are wealthy, they try to stay away from the church because the way how the church view people who are wealthy and try to take advantage of people who are wealthy. Which I understand. I understand that that does happen, and so it's like two worlds that that's what the society has made, kind of quote unquote hate each other, but it's literally should be one thing, because you need money to fund the church. There's no church you go to that they don't collect offering, they don't collect tithes, you know. Yes, we can say God's gonna provide, but God's not gonna come down like, hey, here's Zeke, here's the money you asked for. No, God's gonna send someone like me. Oh, hey, let me bless you, Zeke, for whatever reason. And people need to understand that that's literally how God moves. I'm not saying only God can bless you only monetarily, but God can bless you in so many different way in terms of wealth, because wealth is also good health. You know, having good health, and usually to have good health also equate to the kind of money you have. When you think of poverty, people don't necessarily have the best of health. That's why it's also important to have, like, I have a good balance in terms of money. Understand, God's view on money. So you don't get so caught up in trying to chase the bag as society likes to tell us to do, chase the bag and all these different things. Because sometimes chasing the bag, you can lose yourself. And then, I can say the same thing. Starting my journey with stock. At a certain point, I couldn't sleep. I'm always wondering, like, oh my God, this not going down, this not going this. And it took me, God had to reveal that to me, like, yo, you so much worry about all these stocks and what's going on that you basically losing yourself and me. And I had to really take a step back, ask for forgiveness and understand that God, the reason why we're all here, I believe that we're all here is to worship God, have a relationship with God, and everything else is basically a topping, on the cake or the ice cream, however you guys want to say it. So that's literally why I started the brand, and that's really why I'm pushing so hard. I've had different people come on a podcast and talk about, from clothing brands to real estate to stocks, um, Talk about how their faith in God literally to help them get to the next level in business. Because you can read any books, any self-help book, any motivation book, a good percent of, if not all of them, a good percent of them takes morals and ideas and theological all from the Bible. Like they literally just take a couple of scriptures, add their own little translation. Let's call it a book. Let's call it Rich Dad Poor Dad. Let's do that. Like the Bible talks about giving. The Bible talks about an investment. If you want to talk about the talents, the three people that talents. One had five, one had two, and one had one. The five double his to 10, the two double his to 4. And the one, he was not appreciative of his talent and he hid it. And because of the fact that he didn't appreciate what God has given him, he just, God sent him to hell. And that's a lot sometimes as Christians or just people in general, we have all these different talents. Some of us may only have one talent. Your one talent may be podcasting. Your one talent may be just speaking, writing. Um, but through that one talent, God can allow you to reach such greater height financially, spiritually. God can make you have the influence you want to have, and you don't have to compromise your faith at all. So that's why I started a brand. That's why I'm gonna keep on going, spreading this news, spreading this good news of how to live your life, be financially free, and not compromise your faith in Christ.
There's a lot in that. Because even faith is like the like gives people discipline, gives people things to do, like things to keep on the regiment, and then like a lot of times when you lose yourself because you're trying to either speed up the process or try to do the quick way, but the quick way, which isn't avoiding conflict, but skipping on necessary steps or sacrificing like other people's wealth and health and stuff like that.
Yes, indeed. And I do want to say one thing so people don't make you confused. I'm not saying that everybody's going to get rich, but everybody does need to become financially free. Like I said, only 9% make 100K. So that means that some millionaires don't even make 100K, but there are millionaires that are living fine. They're not living paycheck to paycheck. So it's possible with your 50, 60, 70K, or even 40K salary to become financially free. It's all about how you manage your money.
Yeah. Because everybody has like a different like investment threshold. Everybody has like a different living expense, I guess would be the number, like the name. Where some people need 100K coming in, and some people don't need 100K.
That's 100%.
And then T-Pain was talking about this before, like how like when he was getting out, people were saying he's like the like black man successful is always like the devil's in it, or like there's no God. He was like, but God didn't help me. Like he gave me the talent, and I figured out what to do and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I think with the money with the rule or evil, like money. That's like an incomplete sentence because money could be the rule or evil, but then that doesn't mean that's all what money can do. That makes sense. Yeah.
I kind of lost you. You kind of broke in and out in that part.
I'm just saying, like with the statement, money is the root of all evil. That's like an incomplete statement because it doesn't say that's what all money can do. It just says that's one thing money can do.
Mm-hmm. You're 100% right. That's a good. I never thought about that, but yeah, you're 100% right. It's not a complete statement in regards to money. Guys, money is one of the most popular topic in the Bible. Outside of salvation, like money is spoken a lot, like in terms of being being financially free. Paul spoke about it. Solomon spoke about it. Christ spoke about it. So, yeah, money is really is a big thing. It just so happened it is also a tool that people get so consumed with that they forget God. People tend to focus so much on the creation. No, yeah, the creation that they forget the creator.
Yeah. Well, that was good. What else? So, with your podcast and like the different guests, have you learned anything from the guests that you like? Oh, this is very interesting.
Um, yeah, I've always learned something from every guest that I have, and it's just I guess I can say one thing that I have learned is I actually learned a lot. Oh, I want to say a couple of things I learned is one, being consistent. You know, a lot of us, um, we start business or we start projects, um, excuse me, we start jobs, and because of our mindset, because of our mindset, and because people around us, we have this negative, basically aura towards the job right away. We have this negative aura towards the project or this business. Like, okay, if I don't make this kind of money in 6 months, this is not for me. If I don't do that, this is not for me. And those who have won a podcast, most of them, all of them are still working in their different respective industry. And the reason why most of them has all of them has grown so successfully is consistently. Like despite the things not working right for them, people not believing them, um, not having the right resource, um, they still made it happen. God still allowed them to make things happen. Like one specifically, I could think of right now. Um, I did a podcast with Carlene. She's basically a baker, and she wanted to start a business. And she prayed about it, and basically God let her to start a business. And the funny thing about that podcast, she didn't actually before she started a business, she didn't bake, so she didn't bake at all. So she prayed, and she beat that God told her to start baking, and so she practiced for a couple of months, you know, before she actually started a business. And during that time, she mentioned that she didn't really think it was that great, and she would have a friend taste it, and she was surprised all the different feedback that she was getting. And when she started, you know, then she had like sellout weekends. Like every weekend, she's literally booked out with something. And imagine she stopped when she stopped. Even when you want to talk about somebody who we can all, I guess, say we all know, is you can think of. I like to watch basketball. A lot of some making line reference to basketball. LeBron James or even Kobe Bryant. Um, Injuries happen. You know, misplays happens where somebody's supposed to miss the shot, make the shot, didn't make the shot. But the reason why they're great, or we consider them, one of the greats, is because they consistent with they didn't even give up. Kobe always came after you. He may lose the championship last year, but you're gonna see his face next in the Western Conference again. Same thing with LeBron. You're gonna see his face sometime again, and he's gonna come back much stronger and then. So he's like, it's also going back to what I say. Every season, you need to understand what's going on, because life, a lot of the perception social media try to portray is that everybody's living so lavishly. All these celebrities are making money. Mind you, I'm gonna keep on saying this statistic, only 9% of people make 100K. So somebody's lying on social media about how much money they make. So you don't want to get so caught up in that perception. This is how things supposed to go, and if it doesn't go like that, no, because that's what people that have that mindset, which about 90% of us, we don't ever reach the next level we're supposed to reach. the next level that God has for us. And just to relate to faith, a lot of times we pray, God bless me, God do this for me. But God is telling you, is basically telling you, I'm trying to lead you through this challenge. I'm trying to, help you learn what you need to learn patience, learn how to be organized in this season. But you're giving up because things are not going your way. You're not getting the clients you want to get. You're not getting the sales you want to get. You're not, getting that promotion at the job that you want to get. But there's a reason. I need you to learn something here. I need you to learn how to manage the people. I need you to learn how to talk to people. All these different little skills is what can take somebody, whether in a job, whether in the business, or just in life, to the next level. If you're making 50K right now and you want to make 100K, there's a certain skill that you're lacking right now that someone can pay you that 70K, $1,000 job. And if you're making 70K, there's a skill that you're lacking that someone may not can't pay you 100K, and you need to master that art of that thing. You need to learn how to do it. And the same thing with business. There's some systems that you may be you may need to put in place. You may need to get organized in the way you schedule clients, receive orders. But that's what's stopping you from getting to the next level. And once you're able to realize that, and you can get consistently at doing that, you will have great success. And just to give my own personal thing, for those who may not know, my Instagram page is Dami the CEO. And basically, you go on my Instagram page, Dami the CEO, you'll see that I post very often, whether it's in my stories, whether it's my reels. And the reason why I post so often is one, I'm trying to build, one, I know that the more I post, the more confident I would get to be around in front of people. Two, the more I post, I'll not only, I'll learn how to make better videos. Um, Three, my content was better. The more I post, the more people I reach. You know, just like this is me taking my 1,000 jump shots. For those who are athletes, this is me taking my 1,000 jump. Keep putting posts because I'm not the best content creator. Some content I make, they go wild. They go crazy. And there's some content like, oops, yeah, I need to work. I need to work better on that. And somebody when I first started posting, I'm like, oh, you're doing too much. Like, da 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 da. I'm like, no, I'm not doing too much. You just don't understand the goal I'm trying to get to. That's why you say I'm doing too much. And the same, I want to say that because people won't say you're doing too much. You're going so hard for this business. You're going so hard for this job. Yeah, I'm going so hard for this job because I know there's more I can give to this world. Continue to be hungry. You continue to go deeper in God. You continue to understand what God's plan is for you. Because people are always going to say you're going too hard because they don't understand what you're trying to go after. They don't understand the vision God gave you, and you got to continue going. Ignore it. That's nothing. You want to um, get rid of the naysayers. People that always want to say bad things around you. Because eventually they're gonna start rubbing on you, and you're gonna actually start believing what they put around you. Because the more things you say to yourself, consistently, you will tend to start believing that. I try to tell myself I'm confident, I'm wealthy, I'm healthy, um, and all of this in Christ, and I truly believe that. God definitely gave me the boldness to truly believe that all these different things is who I am, and no matter what my current situation is, that's who Dami is. So that's one thing I can say that all my guests has emphasized is about being consistent and being in the right environment. Because when you're consistent and you're in the right environment, you think it's just magic. It's legitimately magic to keep it on 100%. It's like legitimately magic. You're like, whoa, people actually see what I'm posting. Well, people actually listen to my podcast. Well, people are actually starting to order some of these things because you may be at a point where your things need to get a little better. So that's pretty much my something I learned from all my guests.
Nice. I think we can almost end it here. I'll just say one thing before I ask your last question. It's also good how you mentioned earlier when you said you was going too crazy with the stocks, always keeping up, always trying to watch every minute of it. And it shows that you went through your process that you stated earlier about changing your mindset. So I like that.
Yeah, it's very important to have that change of mindset, because if you don't, it can be very hurtful to your journey, and whether it's finance or just in life.
And the last question I ask is, what would you name your origin story?
What would I name my
Origin story.
what my story? That's a great question. What would I name my story? My story. I'll say I would name my story "The Gift from God." And the reason why I say "The Gift from God" is no matter where I've been, the situation I've been, God always came through for me. God always provided for me. Whether it's bringing the right people around me for that season, blessing me financially. I'm getting different sources of income, like people just randomly, you know, doing things that I wouldn't necessarily do um, for me, or just having that kind of grace and favor on me. That's why I would say my story. I would name my story "The Gift from God," because that's how I really view my life. Like my life is truly a gift from God. Every day I get to wake up. I get to do the things that I really want to do. And it's only by God that I have this opportunity to do these things. Because there's people who want to do the same thing I'm doing, because of their mindset, and some of them are not alive to continue their dream. So for me to continue this, I can only do is appreciate and continue to grind to reach that to reach that.
Got it. Well, thank you for joining the podcast. Let people know
Thank you
where they
for
can find
having me. It was a pleasure.
anytime. Let people know where they can find you.
You guys can find me on YouTube, Wealth in Christ podcast on YouTube. You can also find me on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Wealth in Christ podcast. You can also follow my business page at Wealth in Christ. Um, what else? And also on my business page, Wealth in Christ. If you do want to book a consultation with me in regards to wealth building, finance building, stocks, budgeting, or just basically pick my brain about anything, you can definitely book a consultation. Do my Instagram page, Wealth in Christ. My personal Instagram is Dami the CEO on Instagram. So you can follow me on all those different platforms. And yeah, I'm looking forward to connecting with all you guys.
Nice. Well, thank you again. And that will be it. That brings another episode of the Let's Get That Podcast to a close. Again, you can find out more information about Wealth in Christ by clicking the link in the description below. For next week, I have Alexander to speak about writing about music. Hope you continue a nice day, and I hope to see you there.